Hello and welcome to Open Logic. In this video, we're going to look at the basic of UVM using Hello World. If we are learning about System Verilog, this would be the Hello World example. I hope you are familiar with this, and if you are not, I'd recommend you to go through the System Verilog series. And now, for an equivalent example in UVM, first we need to import a UVM package in order to use any UVM code. And then we can use UVM info macro here to display a message. There are three arguments in the macro. The first one is a tag, the second one is the message, and the last one is a filter or verbosity. UVM none means no filter. We'll talk more about this messaging capability in future video. If you run this code in the command console, this will simply print hello world, but this one here will print a more elaborated message. The message contains several information. For example, this is the file name, this is the line of the file from which the message is coming from, this is when the message is printed, and this is a UVM component hierarchy, but we don't have any here, that's why it appears as a reporter. And finally, this is the tag and the message. And there you go, this is a simple hello world example in UVM. Now, in my opinion, this hello world example is too simple. If you are using this to start learning UVM, you will encounter a lot of issues along the way. Before we look into the reasons why that is a bad hello world, let's see how to make a better one, which is by using UVM test. First thing first, always remember to import a UVM package. And then we can create a class extending from UVM test, and the name of the class is myTest. When we are writing class that extends from UVM classes, we need to have two things. First, a UVM utils macro, and second, a custom constructor. These two are related to a concept called UVM factory, and we'll discuss that in another video. Now, depending on which UVM class that we are extending from, there are different UVM util macro and constructor requirements. To put it simple, we can divide into two categories, whether the class is UVM components based or not. If we are writing a class that is based on UVM component, then we should be using UVM component utils and a constructor like this. Else, we should be using UVM object utils and a different constructor. In this case, UVM test is under UVM component, and that's why we are using UVM component utils and a constructor like this. Now that we have a class, we can put our execution code in it. For example, we can print hello world inside the constructor. But generally, that is not a very good method. UVM test as a UVM component, it has a built-in task called run. It is better to put the print hello world execution there. And now we need to instantiate myTest and call the run task. One simple way of achieving this is by calling a run test, which is available from the UVM package. And there you go, this is a hello world by using UVM test. Now let's try to see how this run test works. How does it instantiate the myTest? Well, actually it doesn't, at least not yet. If you are using VCS, this is how you usually run a simulation, and generally it can take in arguments. By using run test, it can now process an argument called UVM test name, and it can be passed in like this. With this capability, if you have a lot of test classes, you no longer need to declare them, instantiate them, or run them. All you need to do is to pass in the test name using this argument, and the run test will do the rest. And the only bad thing about this code is, if you're just reading the code alone, it would be a head scratcher how does the run test manage to instantiate and run myTest. And generally, this is the recommended way of using run test. However, there are several other methods as well. For example, this run test can text in an argument that allows you to specify which test to run. And this way is clear, but it is hard-coded. Another method is that we can declare the test, instantiate the test, and then call run test. Run test will figure out which test has been instantiated and run it. In my opinion, this is not scalable and way too wordy. Now, the reason I'm showing all these alternatives is to show that UVM generally offers flexibility on how to implement and execute a code. And at the same time, it also provides a recommendation on which one is best to use. For example, run test without argument would be the best way forward. But if you think this code is not readable or friendly to user, especially beginner, then I personally recommend to put a comment here to indicate how run test managed to figure out which test to run by using UVM test name simulation argument. One more thing, if you are using run test with an argument along with a UVM test name, then UVM test name would take precedence. Alright, and now why is this a better hello world compared to this one? If you look at this one, it does not instantiate any UVM class and therefore it is much simpler. Whereas this one has a UVM test and it calls run test. Apart from instantiating the test and running it, run test actually does a lot more in the background. It would instantiate several UVM classes and enable certain features, which in contrast would not be available in this simple hello world. And so, if you are using this simple hello world, you would not be able to test out many UVM features. We will look at some of these affected features in the next video. Well, that's it for this time. Thanks for watching. I hope you find the video helpful. Do help supporting by clicking like, share and subscribe.